I'm Bruce Marshall, and this is a Marshall Minute Brampton Now update for the week ending the July 25th, 26th weekend, 2020. This is a succinct, once-a-week hotshot of everything important that has happened in Brampton the previous week and what's coming up. Brampton's only professionally produced and only independent broadcast. Brampton, unbought and unbiased. Coming up, steady as she goes at stage 2, says Mayor Brown, who also gives his thanks to the feds for coming up with money for municipalities. Plus, provincial investment in schools is announced, and my Marshall Rant on a CBC piece that should cause us to get moving on law enforcement reform. Details on that and more coming up in this Brampton Now update. The top stories this week in Brampton. More of Ontario opens up, but not Brampton. What does Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown have to say about that?
I'd also like to acknowledge today and thank the province of Ontario for taking a cautious approach to the reopening under stage 3. Mayors in the GTHA had asked that we wanted a regional approach, and I'm glad they've taken that a cautious approach.
Brown went on to say that GTHA mayors wrote a letter to the province urging further caution.
Following the announcement, myself and other mayors from the Greater Toronto Hamilton area, we wrote a letter to the province of Ontario highlighting our concerns about some aspects of stage 3, which included bars, restaurants, reopening for indoor dining.
Brown has been calling for several weeks for funding for municipalities that have been so hard hit with costs and with the halt of revenues coming into the cities, while Brown had praised this round for the feds for stepping up.
I also want to mention that I'm encouraged we've made real progress when it comes to the financial challenges that municipalities are facing. We've been almost on a weekly call the last few months with the Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland, the Provincial Finance Minister Rod Phillips, and last week's Safe Restart Agreement shows that they're listening, shows that they understand we can't abandon our frontline municipal essential workers.
In a moment, Dr. Lawrence Lowe with some optimistic, if cautious, words. And pot shops are back in the news in Brampton, ahead on the Brampton Now update.
This is your invitation to hear our stories, to engage in our traditions, and connect with our history. Connections as varied as the land. Come experience our country's heritage. Find and book your authentic Indigenous experience at indigenous-canada.travel.
This is the Brampton Now update. I'm Bruce Marshall. Dr. Lawrence Lowe is the region's medical officer of health. For months, he's been the sober voice at the Brampton Weekly News Conference, urging caution. Well, here are the sweet sounds of the very cautious doctor, sounding optimistic.
I am very reassured that many of our new cases, almost 90%, are linked to known clusters in workplaces and households, and that our capacity to respond remains optimal. For those reasons, I support Peel Region moving into stage 3 sooner rather than later.
Lowe reminds us, what are Peel's big four?
Distancing, hand washing, masking in close quarters, and getting tested and staying home when sick.
And Dr. Lowe went on to explain where the problems still lie. What's the biggest COVID hotspot for you? Your house.
Household clusters continue to drive transmission in Brampton. So I ask all Bramptonians, if someone in your household is not feeling well and think they may have been exposed to COVID-19, please make sure they get tested and then stay home. Because COVID-19 can spread quickly in households, if you get tested because you aren't feeling well, please isolate yourself from those members of your household until your test results come back. This means staying home from work and, if possible, working from home as well, staying away from gatherings, and interacting as safely as you can with people in your home, wearing a non-medical mask and making sure that you're maintaining physical distance.
Councillor 𝗕𝗿𝗺𝗁 looked after the diminishing number of idiot tax tickets handed out by the Brampton Bylaw Department. And this week's fish stringer of idiots who just don't get it includes 10 foghorns of disease and pestilence who won't wear a mask and earned a $500 idiot tax ticket.
There were 16 charges laid between July 14th and July 20th. 6 were under the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act, acronym EMCPA, and 10 were for the new face covering bylaw.
On Tuesday, Peel Police arrested 𝗕𝗿𝗺𝗺𝗁 𝗵𝗺𝗺, a 45-year-old Brampton man, and charged him with defraud the public. He was released with conditions. Peel Police believed that he was doing business as Popular Mortgages on Derry Road in Mississauga and also a Toronto location on Shepherd Avenue. If you have had any business dealings with Popular Mortgages, get in touch with Peel Police at peelpolice.ca. Pot is back in the news in Brampton with the announcement of a proposed pot shop at a plaza off Airport Road just north of Sandalwood. Residents from the area are concerned that the location lies too much of a residential area and is too close to schools, so they tell Brampton Councillor 𝗕𝗿𝗺𝗺𝗺𝗺. And I wouldn't be surprised that this plaza already attracts teens to the shops from the schools, so those might be some well-founded concerns in this case. Have a look at where it is on the map. There is a second shop already approved for 14 Lisa Street across Dixie Road from Bramalea City Centre. 7 applications remain pending. Approvals lie with the Ontario Alcohol and Gaming Commission, and city councillors like Dylan, and I'm sure Charmaine Williams as well, recommend writing to the commission about your concerns. As this went to tape Friday afternoon, CNN was reporting that 150 of the most prominent doctors in the U.S. are now imploring the U.S. federal and state officials to go back to lockdown and start over. Coming up, Mayor Brown joins the Premier for an education announcement in Brampton and news on a couple of summer programs that are still open for kids, one virtual, the other in person. That's ahead on the Brampton Now Update. Marshall, and this is the Brampton Now Update. Brampton was the location of the provincial announcement of $500 in funding for schools on Thursday afternoon. Mayor Patrick Brown also participated in the press conference with the Premier. The program will see 30 new schools built and 15 existing schools expanded. 2 new schools will be here in Brampton. The city announced that events at city facilities will now remain on hold until September 7th. The original sunset date for that had been the end of July. That has now been pushed back. As we get back to a little bit of what's normal, there are some summer camps on in August for kids. The city of Brampton will be offering some camps that they actually attend at some of the recreation centers. There are charges for these camps, and details are at brampton.ca. The Boys and Girls Club of Peel is also offering a free virtual camp funded by the Blue Jays Cares Foundation. The camp centers around activities that culminate in a virtual meetup with counselors 3 times a week for about 45 minutes. The Boys and Girls Club camp is free, but you have to register in advance at bgcpeel.org. Coming up, some of the events happening in Brampton in the next few days, from ribs to music, and my Marshall Rant on police reform, ahead on Brampton Now Update.
Food
is life. For some in Brampton, food may be scarce during this crisis. Regeneration Brampton and Knight's Table are on the front lines of helping the vulnerable. Donations of food or money help them help those who need it the most. This is a challenge for everyone. Imagine if you also had to find food. Visit regenbrampton.com or knightstable.org to see how you can help.
You're watching Brampton Now Update. I'm Bruce Marshall. This weekend and ahead in Brampton Farmers Market is on Saturday. If you haven't been, please review protocols for the market at brampton.ca. Rotary Club of Brampton's virtual ribbon roll is this weekend. The deadline to order was Thursday for delivery. The delivery happens on Sunday between 6 and 9, but they still have entertainment that you're welcome to watch, and that is at ribbonroll.com. On Monday at 4:30, Indo-Canada Chamber of Commerce presents a virtual leaders talk with Mayors Patrick Brown and Bonnie Crombie. Again, 4:30 Monday. Find out more info and register at iccconline.org or look for them on Facebook at Indo-Canada Chamber of Commerce. Saturday, the Jamaican Canadian Association, along with the Afro-Caribbean Business Network, presents So You Think You Can Run in Brampton, a webinar to help those African Canadians who may consider running provincially or municipally in 2 years. Keynote speakers are Councillor Charmaine Williams and MP Kevin Yard. That's Saturday, 10 a.m. to 11:30. Find info at jcaontario.org. Brampton Music Theatre has a fundraising contest called Catch the Ace. It's at bmtcatchtheace.ca. BMT also continues online training programs on their website at bramptonmusictheatre.com. Eid al-Fitr is one of 2 feast times on the Muslim calendar. That's coming up. Usually a time for feasting together. Canadian Pakistani Friends of William Osler Health, however, invite you to celebrate together from wherever on August 2nd from 2 to 4:30 p.m. The 3rd annual Eid for Osler event, virtually this year. They celebrate the festival of Eid while supporting the recognized work and sacrifices of our local healthcare heroes. They have an exciting program lined up from musical performances to art exhibitions, henna tutorials, and a virtual live barbecue. That's the Canadian Pakistani Friends of Osler on Facebook. Coming up, a Marshall Rant. Dire statistics point to a dire need for law enforcement reform. That's next. Bruce Marshall, and this is the Marshall Rant. CBC released a study last week. They've been keeping track of police shootings in Canada. They're up, way up. The kind of up that should be concerning to any citizen in a democracy. Truly, sadly. The CBC News Deadly Force database was established in 2018 after it was discovered that no entity tallied deaths and shootings that happened at the hands of the police. There was no government agency doing it, so the CBC started their own database. A wonderful piece of activist journalism, just the kind of thing I like to see from the CBC. Here's what the CBC has found, and I quote, 1. The number of cases has continued to rise over the past 20 years, even when corrected for population growth. 2. Black and Indigenous people are disproportionately represented amongst the fatalities compared to their share of the overall population. 3. Mental health and substance abuse issues were present in the majority of cases. The CBC piece, which dropped on Thursday, reported that so far this year, 30 people have been killed by police, which is double the yearly average for the past 10 years. All, abstract stuff, mostly national statistics. But if you bring it down to our level, here in Peel Region, where we live, 3 of those deaths by police have happened here in Peel. A total of 5 shootings of citizens so far this year. None were Caucasian. In one case, the now former officer who is alleged to have done the shooting is charged with 3 serious criminal offenses. We have serious problems that require prompt action if we're going to be a democracy based on equality. Now, I should say, for the record too, because I know it will come up, most cops are good people. I know many. I consider myself to be on at least friendly terms with a number of senior police leaders whom I respect. One has been a near lifelong friend. These are good people who truly serve the people in their hearts. This isn't about whether cops are good or bad people. It's about an institution which seems to have a mind of its own that results in these statistics with minorities. We need to get to the root of that. Many police leaders already acknowledge the institution needs to change and be more equitable. These statistics on who dies at the hands of police don't change, and that's wrong. That's unjust in a democracy. So we've got to get into the machinery of how policing works. It's past the talking stages. We need action. And I don't think we're seeing the kind of action and leadership from any of our leaders on this emergency. Why is it an emergency? Well, we know that people of color and Indigenous people are overrepresented in those statistics. But how many more will we be willing to sacrifice before we solve the problem? That's the question, because that's what we're doing by not solving the problems immediately. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I'm Bruce Marshall, and that's it for this week. Please subscribe to the Brampton Now Update channel on YouTube or follow #MarshallMinute on Facebook for lots of Brampton need to know that you won't find anywhere else. Your comments and suggestions are always welcome, and if you've got a Brampton story to tell, get in touch with me through the channel you're watching on right now. Stay strong, Brampton. Brampton strong. We're all in this together. I'm Bruce Marshall. Thanks for watching Brampton Now Update.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broad.